Welcome to Community Conversations. My name is Steve Mantis and I'm your host. And with me today is my guest, Jules Tupker. I want to make sure I invite everyone to provide your feedback and comments to us, and we'll remind you at the end of the show. But my email address will appear on the screen and you can contact me that way. So I'd like to introduce Jules. Jules is the co-chair of the Thunder Bay Health Coalition. Welcome, Jules.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be here.
Now, tell me a little bit about the Health Coalition.
Well, we're a public advocacy nonpartisan group of people that made up of community groups, individuals, and unions, and we're basically striving to maintain and enhance the public-funded healthcare system in Ontario.
Now, Jules, I've known you for many years. You're involved in many community agencies. Some people might recognize you from your service on the United Way Board of Directors.
Right. Yes, I'm heavily involved in United Way. I've been campaign chair a couple of times. I'm currently the president of the board, and I do quite a bit of work with the United Way.
So, and you're involved in a number of different community agencies.
I am. I'm also involved with the Injured Workers Support Group with you. I'm also involved with the Thunder Bay Health Coalition. I'm involved with the Poverty Thunder Bay. I used to be on the board of the food bank, but I ran out of time to do that, so I'm still help out there. I help out Volker at the RFDA every now and then, so I'm involved with a number of groups. I'm also on the Elder Abuse Committee in Thunder Bay.
Busy guy.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. So why did you get involved with the Thunder Bay Health Coalition?
Well, I have a union background, and when I was a union rep and a president of the local, I spent a lot of time helping out the members that weren't able to speak up for themselves and were having some problems at their workplace. And now that I'm retired, I want to do that. I continue to do that. I seem to have the ability to be able to speak up and to help people out. And I love doing it. And every organization that I'm involved in is part of helping people. I know the United Way, all the agencies that we fund, help people that are struggling in the community, and the organization that I'm involved with are also helping people that are struggling in the community. And it's something that I enjoy doing, and I want to do that.
So healthcare is an issue that affects all of us.
Absolutely, it's a huge issue right now, especially. And of course all the time, but there are a number of issues in healthcare that are popping up, and we need to look into those things.
So what's happening currently in terms of our healthcare provincially in Ontario?
Well, healthcare in Ontario over the last number of years has been struggling. The government, the provincial government, is telling us that they're increasing their spending in healthcare, and there's no doubt about that. The money that they're spending in healthcare is huge. It's grown over the last number of years. Last 10 or 15 years as far as the actual dollars go. But as far as a GDP, a percentage of the GDP, the actual spending on healthcare in the province of Ontario has gone down over the last 10 or 15 years. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was about 50% of the budget was spent on healthcare. Now it's down to about 42% of the actual budget is spent on healthcare, and that's a problem. And we're noticing that in our healthcare system in Ontario.
So really, the chunk of funding that goes to healthcare has actually been decreasing, while the real dollars is going up.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's the real concern. There's a shortage of dollars from the provincial government to fund the healthcare issues that we're facing, and of course, not just in Thunder Bay, but in all of Ontario and in all of Canada, there's this huge bubble of seniors that are accessing healthcare more and more. So there's actually a need for an increase in healthcare dollars, and it's just not happening.
So what role does the federal government play in terms of funding healthcare?
Well, the federal government provides a great portion of the healthcare dollars to each province through the Canada Health Act and through the Canada Health Accord. The provincial government or the federal government is required to give money to the provinces to provide healthcare to each individual in the province. And we found out that we know that the Health Accord ends on March the 31st of this year, and that the federal government is not talking to the provinces about renewing the Health Accord or even improving the Health Accord, because there is an increase in cost to the provinces for providing health care.
Okay, so there's two parts here. So the federal government has been kind of cost sharing with the provincial government for healthcare. How has the federal government's contribution worked, or what are their plans now?
Well, the federal government, their contribution to healthcare in the provinces has been going down over the last number of years. And in fact, they announced 2 years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, that they were going to cut funding to the provinces by $36 billion over the next 10 years, starting, I think, in 2016. So there's going to be a huge cut in the funding, money that's available to the provinces to provide healthcare to us.
So that federal money gets sent to the Ontario government in terms of our province,
Right.
and then they're the ones that actually send it to our local hospital or the LHIN or the different parts of the healthcare system.
That's right. The Act says that the provinces are responsible for healthcare for each individual province for their citizens, but the feds provide some of the money, and the province, through tax dollars, obviously provide some of that money also. But so the provinces are responsible for providing the healthcare, but the federal government and the provincial government collect the taxes for that care.
So it sounds like the federal government has been reducing their contribution. That affects how much Ontario has available to spend actually on the direct frontline service that we hope to be there when we need it.
Exactly, and that's a huge concern for all of us. And we want to basically on the Health Coalition, Thunder Bay Health Coalition, and we're affiliated with the Ontario Health Coalition also. And the Ontario Health Coalition is leading the parade as far as Ontario goes. And then we're doing our thing here in Thunder Bay to let the local people know what is going on.
So, I mean, in the news consistently we hear of problems in terms of access, in terms of healthcare, going to the hospital, the lack of beds in the hallways. What are some of the impacts here locally that we're seeing in terms of this shrinking percentage of the budget?
Well, the percentage of dollars that are going to the hospitals has dropped considerably, and the hospitals have been given a 0% increase in their budgets for the last 3 years. So they have to basically run what they're doing now, what they were funded 3 years ago, not even taking into account the cost of living that's increased over the last 3 years. So they're struggling. So when they run out of money, they're stuck. They can only operate with as much money as they get. So they have to find ways of reducing costs. So there's all kinds of issues that the hospital has to deal with, and it's out of their hands. They don't get the money to provide the services. So at the end of the day, the hospitals look like the troublemakers, that they're not operating properly, and yet they're not getting the funding to operate properly.
Well, this is a really important topic. We're going to just take a little break. But once again, I want to encourage our viewers to share your comments with us, and you can send emails to me, and we'll try to respond on future editions of the show. Thank you. We'll be right back.